Hello, it is the 21st of January. I hope you're well. It's a bit later in the day than I normally make my video, which in itself is causing me a bit of anxiety. Um, it's been a different sort of a Saturday because I had to do some things to help out a friend, and so didn't kind of do the normal morning routine, which is fine. Um, I think um, I'm really tired, really, really tired. I was very tired, and then in the week, and then a few things have come up at work and staffing shortages, and so I was tired, and I've been doing a lot. I'm working on adrenaline and working hard, but still sleeping all right. But the week's been long and hard, and what I've realised, which I think is a real strength of ADHD, is that I am very good at coping with pressure and crisis, and when something happens where I need to think on my feet, I'm good at stepping back and looking for solutions. And maybe that instinctive, impulsive bit of ADHD that could lead me to just act very impulsively and instinctively, because over the years I've realized that it's there. I think now what I do is when something happens, when there's a crisis or when there's a difficult situation, I am able to not give into it and to think about the reasons why I might act impulsively or I might do something without thinking it through. And so I do a lot of working against that and overthinking, and then I'm very good at making well judged decisions. But it's quite exhausting because I think the natural part of me would be to just dive in, jump in, be excited by the drama. And what's interesting, I think, is that I quite often see people around me, and particularly children, who do jump into things and who do get excited by the drama and do perhaps because of that, childhood, teenage lack of executive function, perhaps sometimes just sort of get sucked and drawn into things before they take that step back and think. So I suppose the summary of that is knowing that that is kind of one of my issues still in my mid 50s is a big bonus to know it, but it doesn't mean that it's not exhausting then to sort of try and mitigate it. That's a lot of talking and like one massive long sentence. So I am really tired. I am feeling quite discombobulated because it's been a very different Saturday to normal, which would be fine, I think, if it was a holiday. But as it's a weekend when I've now got things like, oh, I haven't done the washing. I went for a different sort of a walk this morning to what I normally do. I did something that was unexpected. I'm sort of left feeling, yeah, just this sense of exhaustion, and I've still got all these things to do. And when am I going to do the work? So I think I need to do this afternoon, I need to do a bit of kind of focusing, calming, maybe even have a bit of a rest, and just get back on track. My brain's doing a lot of overthinking, which I think it's definitely worse when I'm tired. So that's the irony of it. It's that I think that's one of the biggest ironies of ADHD is the overthinking that makes you really tired, and then the tireder you are, you overthink more, and then you're less able to rest, and then so maybe the answer I think is to sit down and to sort of just say, okay, what can I achieve today? What might I need to leave till tomorrow? And can I manage to rest? Because I think that's important. So yeah, so that's it really for today. I've been thinking a lot as well this week about honesty and about truth, and kind of going through that whole thing again of, we do live in a world where there are a lot of smoke and mirrors, and I've written a lot before about and talked a lot about lying and not lying, but when it's all right to kind of not be completely honest. And it's something I really struggle with, and I know it's a factor in ADHD and in autism as well. That you want the world to just be completely consistent and transparent. And if we say we're not going to lie, or we say we're going to be truthful, then that's what you expect everyone to be and do. And yet everyone's human, and sometimes we don't share the whole truth. Thank goodness, because actually it would be exhausting probably if everyone was completely transparent. There needs to be an element of, I suppose, social kind of um, censoring and filtering, and but yeah, I've been thinking a lot about it because one of the things I constantly struggle with is the kind of rhetoric reality thing of, like, and I struggle in education with it because what we say we want to achieve, it's sometimes so far from what we can actually achieve, and then you get frustrated. But actually, it it's not really about that, because I don't think the rhetoric is ever isn't it's not that we wouldn't want to achieve what we say we want to achieve. We would, because what we want is the gold standard. But for me, it's that frustration of, sometimes the difference between the gold standard and what we're actually able to achieve. And I think at the moment, the world is such that for schools, it's really hard because we want to be able to do it all. We want to, I mean, I've said before that whole thing of like teachers aren't social workers. No, I love the idea of schools being really part of the community and really, a hub and a place that helps families, not just children. And I love the idea of that kind of way of working, but it's quite hard because there's a lot at the moment that people need help with, and because of other services not being able to provide, um, it does tend to fall to schools because we have the children with us for large parts of the day. And um, yeah, so I suppose what I'm saying is I'm optimistic that schools can get it right for every child and can do a lot for families. And I love that idea, but it's sometimes it is a bit tiring. But that's fine. It doesn't mean you give up on it. It doesn't mean you expect anything less or hope for anything less. And I always go back to kind of children's rights, and the fact that actually children do live in a world where we would hope them to have all the things that they're entitled to wherever they live in the world, and the best possible care and the best possible from the adults who are there to look after and protect them. So yeah, and again, I constantly come back to this thing of actually, and I suppose if I hadn't had the week I've had, this might have been the theme of today, would have been, it's just about constantly coming back to the adults and saying, are we doing the best? If we're saying we're working in the best interests of children, are we all individually taking a step back and saying, am I doing that? What is driving me? If I'm working in a school, if I'm going in there every day and I'm assuming that I'm not just doing it for the money, what is driving me when I do what I do, when I plan what I plan, when I have the interactions with the children that I have? And I think that is so important. But again, often we don't have time to step back and do that because it's so full on. And yeah, so that's a bit of a random waffle, but I don't know. That's the week it's been. Still love being a head teacher. Still love, just I think it is one of the best jobs ever. And got to teach this week as well, which was fantastic. Went and did a bit of work in another school just to help out, and that was actually just the high point of my week, was just sort of being able to go in and meet some new children and have some lovely conversations and do some teaching. And that's the bit. It's just fantastic. And as a head teacher, sometimes you don't get to do that as much, and that's what but actually, it's not just about teaching. It's about relationships, interactions with people. It's not really about the big paperwork things you have to do, or the everything else. It's about people, and whether that's doing looking after your staff, or looking after children, or interacting, or trying to find solutions to the problems that people might be going through. That's the bit that makes it. But I'm a bit tired, so I'm going to have a rest, and I'm going to maybe write a poem, and then it's Sunday tomorrow, and then it's another week. And yeah, so there we go. A random waffle. I hope you've enjoyed listening or watching. If you have, then that's lovely, and if you haven't, then don't watch. And if again, or no, this is just ridiculous now, I'm just going on and on. Really frustrating this week to hear a lot more about people who are struggling to get a diagnosis, or who are Yeah, and that frustrates me. And so I suppose the key point of this is real. ADHD is real. It's not easy to live with ADHD. There are days when it's really hard. There are things about it that are positive, but it is hard, and that's why I keep, I suppose, going and saying yes. You doesn't mean it's not a life sentence. You don't have to stay in and never go out and never function. You can function. You can be very successful, but there are bits to it that are hard. There we go. Um, Much love. Take care. Stay well. Stay safe, and maybe see you next week.